Hello and welcome to Glue Wednesday. This is Sporty King coming to you live on Facebook Live or recorded on Facebook Live, depending on when you're watching the show. But I call it Glue Wednesday because so often people say that Wednesday, it's considered to be hump day. And I've decided to always keep my vocabulary positive, and not that hump is necessarily the worst word in the world, but I think it has the connotation of us having the need to get over. When in fact, I see Wednesday as the middle of a traditional 7-day week. It keeps the weekend and the week beginning together. And so I see Wednesday as the glue of the week rather than a day that we need to hump to get over. What we need to do is focus on keeping it together. So I'm going to be talking to you today about being masters of change. And let me ask you, as I always ask at the beginning of my broadcast, how many of you, hey Joanne, how many of you actually see yourself as masters of change? Whether you raise your hand or just thought about it in your mind, I'm sure you did. I want to say to you, how many of you also consider that you like a challenge? Is the answer different? Well, now let's put the answer together, because what we need to recognize is that change is just challenge with an LLE in the middle, and vice versa. And that LLE stands for Life's Learning Experiences. CHALLENGE. Change is just challenge with an LLE in the middle. And during my first broadcast of this series, I challenged you to change your definition of success, because success will challenge and change you. We've allowed financial success to become the headline rather than the subset of success. And that's one of the things that I'd rather talk about. I suggested that to get success back to its rightful heading as the headline, let's look at change as CHANGE. Choices, hardships, accomplishments, negotiations, guidance, and empathy. Each of these words conjure up memories of what you've done to survive. And remember that survival equals change. So today I'm going to address, hey Toss, today I'm going to address change by talking about the N in CHANGE as we look at the negotiations, needs versus the wants, and the nerve it takes to believe in yourself enough to take a stand. Because yes, success is about taking a stand. And this week, I've decided to address the letter by walking it backwards. I'm going to walk those words backwards. Instead of going negotiation, need, nerve, I'm going to go nerve, need, negotiate. So I'm going to start with that concept of success being about the nerve it takes to believe in yourself enough to take a stand. In 1994, while in Chicago, I was inspired to write a poem about the movie Sankofa. Sankofa, S-A-N-K-O-F-A. Sankofa gave an historical perspective of a female model who takes a Twilight Zone type trip back into her roots as a slave. I'll put my phone on vibrate here just in case. I just thought of that. Okay, so Sankofa gave an historical perspective of a female model who takes a Twilight Zone type trip back into her roots as a slave. When we meet her, she's actually on a photo shoot in Ghana, and her photographer is getting her to shift from pose to pose with sexy comments and innuendos, all while an older African wise man looks upon her work as shameful. Now, somehow he gets her ear and tells her that she must go back and find out who she really is, inferring that she would have second thoughts about how she represented herself as a model or a sex symbol. As we learned in the movie, the Sankofa bird symbolizes going back to your roots and get what's left behind. I'll attach a clip from the trailer after this broadcast. However, surprisingly, I read this quote from Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. before watching the trailer. I was even more surprised to hear his words used in the trailer, where the woman will hear the woman scream, "I'm not an African, I'm an American, don't you recognize me?" So listen for those words when you hear the trailer. But here's the quote. The Negro is the child of two cultures, Africa and America. The problem is that in the search for wholeness, all too many Negroes seek to embrace only one side of their natures. Thus, the words in my poem will speak for anyone who has felt oppressed, and I believe you'll understand why I named it It's My Last Spirit. You'll find it on page 103 in my book, I Found Out I'm Dying, A Celebration of Life. A book about the fact that physically we're all dying from the day we're born. Get over it. But so it's not about dying, it's about living. See how the secondary messages, see how that we get caught up on the headline sometimes, I found out I'm dying, when the subtitle is A Celebration of Life. And so that's what we have to recognize, that physically we're all dying from the day we're born. And when you find that out, because what would you do if the doctor gave you or could give you 2 weeks, 1 month, 6 years to live? You'd make a to-do list. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. And I say, why don't you just have that list anyway? Because one day you will die. So let's make sure that we're doing things on our to-do list. I digress. But let me go to the poem in the book, page 103. It's My Last Spirit. I surrendered my freedom, for they could not take it. No amount of suffering, no amount of torture, no amount of torment, no amount of ridicule, no amount of hatred could put my spirit down. In fact, and however, I do welcome my spirit being pushed back, for the pure essence of its strength is in my heritage. My deep, dark past has shed light forth enough to guide me through its mystery and misunderstanding to realize this fact, that I am of a pure future. Excuse me, did I say future? You say, isn't heritage in the past? I say only the beginning of heritage is in the past. This swelling in my breast is a pride that carried and carries forward, now using this vessel of flesh to spread its message. I surrendered my freedom, for they could not take it. No amount of suffering, no amount of torture, no amount of ridicule, no amount of torment, no amount of hatred could put my spirit down. In fact, and however, it sits here poised to eclipse the next hurdle, anxious and defiantly confident. I feel the whisper of the explosive strength disguised in humble gestures that belie its self-image of gentleness and prophecy. Stalking, silent, suave, sensitive, supreme, solidified, spirited. Can you feel it? Can you hear it? Would you like to taste it? Breathe deep and see it. Open your eyes and smell it. Yes, for only as you release your senses can you comprehend the majesty, the magic, and the mirth of this reunion. And only as you fight back the tears you must welcome will you rest with your anger. And only as you rest with your anger can you find little reason to be angry. For they are only demons, far too powerless to take your spirit. Put your pout to good use. Never surrender your freedom, for they cannot take it. No amount of suffering, no amount of torture, no amount of torment, no amount of ridicule, no amount of hatred can put your spirit down. In fact, and however, this is my last spirit. It's the one that keeps reminding me to push on no matter what. It's the one that thanks me for getting stronger, helping it to remain strong, and for believing in it, which is myself. My last spirit flatters me with the flashbacks of my past, and yes, it's the one that baits me with inklings from my future. Do you have the nerve to be who you are? Because there's someone who doesn't want you to be. Don't let them hold you back. And remember, one of my favorite acronyms is in response to the comments when I hear people talk about how they won't let me get ahead. To these people, I say, who is they? T-H-E-Y. How about the haters, especially you? You see, as referenced in the poem, they have no power. You have to surrender your freedom to be a loser. Though we must always, we must all experience a loss here and there. Losing is a state of mind where we give up on the possibility that there may be another way or even another day. Yet it can be from the losses that we better understand our needs rather than rather than chase success based on our wants. Of course, if you had a wonderful mother like I had, you'd get stuck on either word. Because I can remember when I would say, Mommy, I need such and such, she'd say, you need to go sit down and rest your nerves. Or if I'd say I wanted something badly, she'd say, yeah, people in hell want ice water. Is there any wonder why I have such a love of literacy and the gift of a quick wit? I digress, because still, in all seriousness, we must understand that there's a difference in wants and needs so that we can put ourselves in a better position to get both fulfilled, because we deserve to have both our wants and our needs fulfilled. In the comment section, in the comment box, I want you to type in your needs versus your wants. In the comment section, type in some of your needs versus your wants whenever you're watching this broadcast. Because more importantly, I want you to also add how you learn the difference. How did you learn the difference between your needs and wants? You see, your epiphany could make the difference in another viewer's life. And I welcome you to share that through me. And as I do, I'm reminded of the background of a post that I recently did that says, you can't steal my thunder. You can only share in my blessing. That took me back to Chicago and a gentleman named Clarence. I used to teach a class called the Golden Brick Road for the Chicago Department on Aging. And one day, after I'd done my session, I'm walking out, and Clarence is walking with me, and we're laughing and talking. He said, "Man, I really enjoyed it." He said, "I had something that I could have added." I said, "Well, why didn't you?" I said, and I'm doing this from memory. I said, "Well, why didn't you add it? Why didn't you say so?" He said, "Well, I didn't want to steal your thunder." And I just instantly said to him, "You can't steal my thunder. You can only add to my blessing." And then I said to myself, "Whoa, that was pretty good." See, I never said it before, but recognize that that's the deal. You can't steal my blessing. You can't steal my thunder. You can only share in my blessing. In other words, the lesson to me was that as a speaker, I want to deliver, but I don't need to be the only blessing in the room. Sometimes I need you to be in the room sharing your blessing. So that's why I say add how you learn the difference between your needs and your wants. Because once we understand that we are often the blessing in the room, we can negotiate our next step toward personal and professional success. And notice I always say personal before professional. Because when we're talking about success, it's important that we get our personal win, W-I-N, what I need. Every one of us has a personal win that makes us an important member of every team that we find ourselves on. So let's get that personal win so that we can get our professional win. And with that, let me add, I always like to have a literacy component to my message. And our literacy, as we move to the next word of negotiate, I want us to define the word negotiate. First of all, negotiate is a verb. And I've got two meanings for it. One is to obtain or bring about by discussion. In other words, arrange, broker, work out, thrash it out. Two, to find a way over or through an obstacle or a different path. In other words, get around, get past, get over, clear, cross. Agree, consult, debate, handle, settle, make peace. There are a whole lot of synonyms that you can use for negotiate, so go on and look them up. But would you agree that you've done a lot of consulting, debating, handling, and negotiating your way through life? Then you know that I believe that life is about going from one puzzle to the next. In all of your family, social, or business relationships, you're either a small, medium, or large piece of the puzzle. Yet, no matter what puzzle piece size you see yourself as, without you, the puzzle is called incomplete. So please negotiate and know that your need to have the nerve to be who you are will keep us all complete by handling the challenge of being the success that you are. You see, many people say that they're afraid of or uncomfortable with change when in fact we're all masters at it, because it's a compilation of LLE, life's learning experiences, that move and inspire us to grow. Let's continue to have a healthy definition of success by returning it to its rightful place as the headline, not the subset of financial success. Remember, CHANGE, choices, hardships, accomplishments, negotiations, guidance, and empathy. Each of these words conjure up memories of what you've done to survive, and survival equals success. If you've been following the series, we've covered the A, C, H, and today the N. Next week, we'll discuss the G in CHANGE as we look at guidance, gifts, grace, and growth, and the growth that it takes to be successful. In other words, choosing your messages carefully, understanding who you are and your blessings, and allowing yourself to be an even bigger version of yourself. Until then, follow me here, and please check out my website at sportyking.com to enjoy my monthly fun newsletter, at the blog posts of positivity, and the opportunity to support me, my message through your patronage or referral. But recognize that you are a master of change. And this is Glue Wednesday, Glue. God's love undoes everything. In other words, whatever you're going through, with the operative word being going through, self-fulfilling prophecy, I'm going to make it through. On the way, I need the glue that's going to help me keep it together. And that glue will be God's love, because it undoes every single challenge and problem that you have. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Ciao. Don't forget to put in your needs versus wants and how you learned it. Thanks.